Amanda woke before the light did. For one suspended second, she didn't know why her body felt different. Then memory returned all at once. Heat, breath, the wall of glass at her back, Sofia's hand at her wrist, the low certainty in her voice, the slow, devastating relief of being undone by someone who had never once asked permission to see through her. Amanda opened her eyes into the dark blue hush of her bedroom and immediately wished she hadn't. Sofia was awake, not moving much. Just there beside her, one arm bent under her head, dark hair loosened now, face softened by the hour and the low city glow beyond the windows. She wasn't staring in any obvious way. She was simply watching Amanda with that same steady attention she brought to everything else. It should have been unbearable. It was. Amanda lay on her back beneath dark sheets, one bare shoulder cool in the dawn air, her gold hair spilled wild across a pillow she normally never let remain dented for more than a minute after waking. Her body still held the exact memory of the night before in ways she was not prepared to examine this early, or possibly ever. Neither of them spoke. The skyline beyond the glass was just beginning to pale at the edges, towers losing their sharpness. The city below turning from black and gold to steel and pearl. Amanda turned her head first. That felt like losing. She pushed herself upright with controlled, economical movements that would have looked calm to anyone who didn't know better. The sheet slipped down her back. She grabbed it higher without looking at Sofia and sat there for a second, breathing once through her nose as if composure could be rebuilt by force. Behind her, Sofia said quietly, "Good morning." Amanda closed her eyes for one dangerous beat. Of all the things Sofia could have said, something ordinary felt the most destabilizing. She stood, sheet wrapped around her like a temporary treaty, and crossed to the windows with her back to the bed. The city was washed in early rainlight now. White bridges, wet glass, pale morning traffic. "Is it?" Amanda asked. Sofia sat up against the headboard, the dark sheets pooling at her waist, and there was something almost criminal in how composed she still looked after the kind of night that should have left both of them visibly ruined. Amanda hated that. Hated it even more because she was nowhere near as composed. "It can be," Sofia said. Amanda let out one short, humorless breath. That answer was pure Sofia. Calm enough to sound simple, sharp enough to mean several things at once. Amanda turned just enough to glance over her shoulder. Sofia had already pulled on her dark blouse from the night before, though it hung open at the throat and one cuff was still undone. She looked less like someone who had just slept with the most controlled woman in Manhattan, and more like someone who had gone quiet with a difficult thought and decided not to flinch from it. Amanda looked away first. Again. That was unacceptable. She crossed to the closet, disappeared into the soft light of polished wood and mirrored doors, and emerged 10 minutes later in a cream blouse and dark trousers, every button exact, every line restored, every trace of the woman from the night before being packed away beneath elegance and discipline. Except not every trace. The slight mark near her throat that makeup wouldn't fully hide. The altered rhythm in her body. The fact that Sofia was still in her apartment at all. When Amanda came back into the bedroom, Sofia was standing by the windows now, fastening the last button at her wrist. She turned when Amanda entered. For one second, the room held both versions of them at once. Amanda rebuilt into silk and composure, Sofia dressed but unmistakably not distant, the bed behind them still bearing the shape of what had happened there. Amanda picked up her watch from the nightstand. "I have a call at 8. Sofia nodded once. "Of course you do." Amanda slid the watch onto her wrist. "You say that like it's a character flaw." Sofia's gaze dropped briefly to the watch, then back to Amanda's face. "No, just a pattern." Amanda's jaw tightened. "Everything is a pattern with you." "Most things are." Amanda reached for her earrings, fingers cool and exact. She was almost fully assembled again. Almost. Sofia watched her for another beat and then said, low and plain, "I didn't like the way she touched you." Amanda's hand stopped at her ear. The room changed. Slowly, she turned. "Excuse me." Sofia didn't move from the window. "Evelyn." Amanda set the earring down on the dresser with a quiet click. "I'm aware of her name. She touched you like she still knew exactly how far she could go." Amanda stared at her. There was no accusation in Sofia's voice. No theatrical jealousy. That would have been easier to dismiss. This was worse. This was honesty. "And that," Amanda asked softly, "is suddenly your concern?" Sofia held her gaze. "No. Feet." Then, it still bothered me. Amanda felt something hot and immediate move low through her body, humiliating in both its speed and its direction. She turned away under the pretense of reaching for the second earring. You don't get a vote in my history. I know. Amanda put the earring on, eyes fixed on her own reflection. Good. Behind her, Sofia crossed the room. Not all the way. Just enough to be felt. Amanda's breath shifted. Sofia saw that in the mirror. I know, Sofia said again, quieter now. Didn't stop me noticing. Amanda met her eyes in the mirror and wished, not for the first time, that Sofia were less calm. That she would push too hard, speak too fast, demand too much, do anything Amanda could cleanly reject. Instead, Sofia stood in the soft morning light and said things that landed exactly where they shouldn't. Amanda turned fully and leaned one hip against the dresser, crossing her arms with practiced coolness. And what exactly do you think you noticed? Sofia looked at her for a long second. That she still knew how to get under your skin. Amanda's laugh was light and merciless. You're giving her too much credit. Am I? Yes. Sofia's gaze moved over her face in that maddeningly attentive way. Then why do you look like you've been fighting with ghosts since 6:30? Amanda's expression went still. There it was again. That sense that Sofia was no longer just inside her space, but inside her timing. The urge to shut it down rose sharp and familiar. Before she could decide whether to use it, her phone lit up on the nightstand. Connor. Amanda took the call immediately. Mercer. Connor's voice came fast and strained. A donor issue. A board complication. Something with a press inquiry that wasn't catastrophic yet but was heading there at speed. Amanda's face changed while he spoke. The softness that had never really belonged there vanished completely. Her shoulders squared. Her mouth flattened. Her eyes went cool and hard and brilliant. Sofia watched it happen in real time. The armor coming back on. Amanda ended the call, already moving. I need to go. Sofia nodded once. Amanda collected her blazer from the chair, then stopped when she realized Sofia was reaching for hers too. They looked at each other across the room. Amanda said, You don't have to come in yet. Sofia slipped into the jacket anyway. I know. That answer nearly made Amanda lose her temper on contact. She turned and walked out first. The ride downtown was not silent this time. It was worse. It was all almost speech. Amanda gave 2 instructions to her assistant through her phone before the car had cleared the second light. She approved a revised talking point, killed a proposed statement with a single sentence, and took a second call from legal without looking at Sofia once. But Sofia sat beside her in the backseat feeling all too present anyway. One knee angled toward her. One hand resting loosely against her own thigh. Dark blouse. Calm face. No perfume Amanda could name. Just clean skin and coffee and the terrible memory of both from too close. At one stoplight, Amanda finally lowered the phone and stared out at the wet city. You're very quiet. Sofia looked at her profile. You're working. That's never stopped you before. Sofia's mouth shifted slightly. Are we fighting? Amanda turned her head. The line might have sounded almost amused from another woman. From Sofia, it sounded like genuine inquiry sharpened just enough to be dangerous. Amanda's voice stayed cool. I'm not in the habit of fighting before 9 a.m. Sofia held her gaze. You were in a different habit around 2. Amanda looked away first. Again. The car seemed to tighten around them. Sofia did not press further. That, somehow, made Amanda more aware of her than speech would have. By the time Amanda stepped into the tower lobby, she was flawless again. Not healed. Not settled. Not even close. But flawless. Rain still silvered the glass outside. The building rose around her in clean lines and expensive quiet, and Amanda moved through it like she had been carved specifically for spaces that rewarded control. Charcoal blazer now on. Gold hair restored. Heels precise. Tablet under one arm. Not a single visible sign that she had spent half the night against a wall of glass letting another woman teach her what surrender felt like. People shifted around her instinctively. Security straightened. A junior associate dropped his eyes too fast. 2 board assistants stepped out of her path with apologies they didn't need to offer. Amanda crossed the lobby in full command of the room. Sofia, half a pace behind and dressed in dark blue with her hair pulled back again, watched the transformation with something dangerously close to admiration. Amanda felt that too. That was the problem. She always felt it. The morning turned brutal almost immediately. A board follow-up at 9. Legal at 9:30. Finance at 10:15. By 11, Amanda had cut through 3-week proposals, dismantled one excuse, and forced an entire restructuring timeline back into reality with 22 unforgiving minutes at the head of a conference table. She was magnificent. She was cold enough to leave a frost line behind every sentence. And Sofia saw the overcorrection for what it was. In the 11:30 leadership review, Amanda did not look at her once. Not directly. She addressed Connor when a question was meant for Sofia. She asked for risk projections through legal instead of from the woman who had built half the analysis herself. When Sofia spoke anyway, clean and concise as ever, Amanda answered with perfect professionalism. Thank you, Ms. Bennett. Noted. Connor, fold that into the revised language. Ms. Bennett. Not Sofia. The change was small enough to escape everyone else at the table. Small enough to be deniable. Large enough to land like a slap. Sofia sat through it with stillness that looked neutral to everyone but Amanda. Amanda knew what neutral from Sofia actually looked like. This wasn't it. This had tension under it. A living kind. After the meeting, people drifted out in clusters, the room dissolving into phones and side conversations and the rattling aftermath of pressure. Amanda stayed at the head of the table, gathering papers she didn't need to gather. She knew Sofia had not moved. She knew it before she looked up and found her standing at the far end of the room, one hand on the back of a chair, dark eyes fixed on her with quiet precision. The door clicked shut behind the last person. Only then did Sofia speak. Miss Bennett. Amanda stacked the papers once more, perfectly straight. If you're going to be dramatic, at least be original. Sofia came around the table slowly. You brought me upstairs after midnight and demoted me by lunch. Amanda lifted her eyes. This is work. No, Sofia said. This is fear in a very expensive blazer. Amanda went still. That line should have detonated. Instead, it landed low and hot, because some traitorous part of her knew exactly how close it was to true. Amanda set the papers down. Be careful. Sofia stopped a few feet away. There it is. Amanda's chin lifted. I'm serious. So am I. Silence opened between them. Cold, bright, alive. Amanda looked breathtaking when she was angry like this. Gold hair immaculate, face sharpened by discipline, mouth set hard enough to suggest she could cut someone open with diction alone. Sofia's voice lowered. You don't get to pretend last night didn't happen just because daylight makes it inconvenient. Amanda's answer came clipped and elegant. What happened last night was not relevant to company operations. Sofia's mouth moved, not quite a smile and nowhere near kind. Is that what we're calling it? Amanda's pulse kicked once hard. You heard me. Sofia's eyes searched her face. I did. Feet. Then. I also heard you in my mouth at 1 a.m, so forgive me if I'm not buying the official statement. The heat that shot through Amanda at that almost made her lose the room entirely. Instead, she reached for the oldest weapon she had, distance sharpened into cruelty. If you misunderstood the nature of the situation, she said coolly, that would be unfortunate. Sofia didn't move. For the first time since Amanda had met her, something in her face opened just enough to reveal hurt. Not weakness. Not drama. Just impact. And because Amanda was already halfway into self-destruction, she made it worse. You are a consultant, she said. Not a complication I intend to keep. The silence after that was monstrous. Amanda heard her own heartbeat in it. Sofia absorbed the blow without flinching outwardly, which somehow made it uglier. When she finally spoke, her voice was very calm. You're crueler in daylight. Amanda felt that like a hand around her throat. She said nothing. Sofia looked at her for another second, then nodded once, as if filing something away. Good, she said quietly. Now I know what I'm dealing with. She turned and left. Amanda remained at the head of the empty conference table long after the door shut behind her, one hand flat against the polished wood, breathing too slowly on purpose. It did not help. If you're still here with me, take a second to like and subscribe. Stories like this only reach more people when YouTube sees real engagement. And tell me in the comments where you're listening from and whether Amanda crossed a line she's going to regret. She regretted it by 120. Not gracefully. Not usefully. Not in any way she could convert into action. The problem with having a razor for a tongue was that the cut often looked clean until the blood actually arrived. Amanda spent lunch in her office with the door closed and a salad untouched on the table by the windows. Midtown spread below her in wet silver light, taxis dragging color through the street, people hurrying under umbrellas that looked insignificant from 32 floors up. Her assistant had brought the lunch in at 12. It was now 1:35. Amanda had not eaten a bite. She stood at the windows instead, one hand at her waist, phone in the other, staring at an email thread without seeing a single line of it. "You are a consultant. Not a complication I intend to keep." The sentence replayed with surgical precision. It had done what she wanted. Sofia would step back now. The line was clear. The ground restored. The damage contained. So why did the wind feel like poison? A soft knock sounded at the door. Her assistant stepped in halfway. "Miss Hart left this downstairs." Amanda turned. A slim cream envelope rested on the tray in her assistant's hand. Of course it did. Amanda took it with 2 fingers and waited until the door shut again before opening it. Inside was a folded card in Evelyn's immaculate handwriting. "You look awful when you lie to yourself. Lunch offer stands." Aye. Amanda stared at the card for 3 full seconds. Then she laughed once, sharp, exhausted, and entirely without humor, and dropped it onto the untouched salad. The city beyond the glass had never looked more indifferent. At 3, the donor issue worsened. At 3:30, Amanda had to go downstairs to a conference suite and sit through an emergency strategy session with legal, development, and 2 board representatives who suddenly remembered they had opinions. Sofia was there. Of course she was. But now she was all professional distance. No looking too long. No quiet heat under the words. No attention that felt specific to Amanda at all. She addressed the room, not Amanda. She gave clear, precise recommendations and never once angled them her way. It should have been easier. It was not easier. Amanda realized, with a fresh wave of irritation, that she had somehow become accustomed to Sofia's attention. Accustomed to it enough to miss it when it vanished. That discovery ruined the rest of her afternoon. By 6, the crisis had been contained, the press concern rerouted, and the board sufficiently reassured. People started leaving in waves. The office exhaled. Lights dimmed in the outer departments. Amanda stayed. Naturally. She was in her office at 7:15, jacket off, sleeves rolled once, reviewing the same paragraph of a memo for the 5th time when she looked up and saw Sofia crossing the hallway outside her glass wall with her coat over one arm. Leaving. Amanda stood before she had fully decided to. By the time she stepped into the hall, Sofia had reached the elevators. Sofia. The name came out sharper than intended. Sofia turned. That was all. No visible surprise. No softening either. Amanda crossed the hallway in a line of controlled, furious purpose and stopped a few feet from her. The executive floor behind them was nearly empty now. Warm light. Dark glass. The hum of evening systems settling in. "You're leaving." Sofia looked at her once, level and unreadable. That's usually how the workday ends. Amanda heard how stupid the first line had been and hated herself for giving it to her. She corrected course. Connor still needs the revised matrix. It's in his inbox. Amanda folded her arms. The donor language. Done. There was nothing left to ask professionally. The realization hung there, humiliating in its clarity. Sofia saw that too. Amanda's voice lowered. "You're making a point." "No," Sofia shifted her coat against her arm. "You made one." I listened. Something in Amanda's chest turned dangerous. The elevators chimed. Neither moved. Amanda said, "That's not what I meant." Sofia's eyes held hers. "No." Amanda's jaw tightened. "You know it isn't." The doors opened behind Sofia, spilling silver elevator light across the carpet. Still, she didn't step in. Amanda took one half step closer. It was a bad day. Sofia's expression didn't change. "You don't get to use me for relief and then file me under operational error by noon." The words hit clean and hard because they were true in exactly the way Amanda least wanted to admit. She dropped her voice further. "Not here." Sofia glanced once at the empty corridor. "Why? Someone might hear you act human." Amanda's mouth thinned. "You're enjoying this far too much." "No," Sofia said. "I'm furious." That stopped Amanda colder than anger would have. Sofia took one step out of the elevator light and into Amanda's space. Not close enough to touch. Close enough that Amanda could see the strain under the calm now. could see what she had actually done. I watched your ex put her hand on your back and walk you away in front of me, Sofia said quietly. I still went home with you. I still stayed. And by lunch you were calling me Ms. Bennett like you could scrub me off your skin with titles. Amanda stared at her. The elevator doors slid shut behind Sofia and reopened a moment later with a soft mechanical sigh, neither woman paying them any attention. Sofia's voice dropped lower. So no, I'm not enjoying this. Amanda's pulse was a live thing now. She should say something clean. Apologize, perhaps. Or at least explain. She was capable of explanations, so polished people mistook them for truth all the time. Nothing polished arrived. Instead, she said, too honestly, you make it very difficult to think. Sofia's face changed. Just slightly. The anger in it loosened enough to let something else through. That, she said, is the first honest thing you've said to me all day. Amanda let out a breath that almost sounded like defeat. The elevator opened again. Somewhere down the hall, a printer started and stopped. The whole floor seemed to be listening. Amanda looked at Sofia and saw the exact point where she could still lose her completely. That realization was so sharp it nearly felt physical. Her voice went quiet. Don't go yet. Sofia's eyes searched her face. Amanda had never been good at asking. At needing. At offering anything without wrapping it in control first. Sofia knew that now. Why, Sofia asked softly, so you can apologize like a CEO? Amanda almost flinched. Almost. No. Feet. Then, with visible effort. So I can do it properly. The silence that followed was different from the others. Not cold. Not easy either. Just real. Sofia held her coat a little looser in one hand. You have 10 minutes. Then she turned, not toward the elevator, but toward the terrace at the end of the hall. Amanda followed. The terrace was windless tonight. No rain now. Just the city laid out below them in clean, electric lines and the glass of the tower reflecting two women who had already changed each other more than either one wanted to admit. Sofia stopped near the railing and set her coat down on the back of a chair. Amanda stayed standing. For a few seconds, neither spoke. Then Amanda said, I was trying to restore order. Sofia looked at her. By humiliating me. Amanda's eyes closed briefly. There was no way to make the answer good. Yes. Sofia absorbed that in silence. Amanda crossed one arm over her waist, then dropped it again. Even now she was elegant. Even now she looked untouchable at first glance. Only someone paying close attention would have seen how frayed the perfection was. That wasn't about you, Amanda said. Sofia's mouth curved without humor. That's supposed to help? Amanda's gaze went to the city, then back to her. It's the truth. Good for the truth. Amanda took a breath. I don't do this well. No, Sofia's voice stayed quiet. You don't. The lack of softness in that answer landed more honestly than comfort would have. Amanda looked at her for a long moment. Then, because there was apparently no dignity left in the day, she said the thing she had been avoiding since dawn. When I woke up and you were still there, I wanted you to be. Sofia went still. Amanda's throat tightened around the next words. And that is exactly the problem. There it was. Not the whole truth. Not yet. But enough of it to change the air. Sofia watched her with unbearable attention. Because Amanda laughed once, low and tired and far too sharp around the edges. Because I don't know how to let something stay without eventually needing to control it. Sofia said nothing. Amanda went on, quieter now, as if saying it too loud might make it less survivable. You were in my apartment. In my bed. In my morning. She looked away for half a second, then back. And instead of letting that be what it was, I panicked. Sofia's face softened, not into pity, never that, but into comprehension. Amanda hated how much that affected her too. I know, Sofia said. Amanda looked at her. Do you? Yes. Feet. Then. That doesn't make what you said hurt less. Amanda took that without defense. Good, she thought bitterly. It was supposed to hurt. The city moved below them. Light after light. Car after car. Lives continuing in ordered lines while hers had become something much more unstable. Amanda stepped closer. Not enough to assume forgiveness. Enough to stop shouting across distance. I was wrong. Sofia tilted her head slightly. That must be exhausting for you. The dry edge of it made something in Amanda's face finally crack. Not a smile. Not quite. But close enough to feel human. It's intolerable. That almost got one from Sofia too. Almost. Amanda's voice lowered. I don't know what this is supposed to look like. Sofia looked at her for a long second. Neither do I. That somehow was the most relieving thing anyone had said to her all day. No script. No neat solution. No easy emotional architecture Amanda could master and then use to stay safe inside. Just two women on a terrace 32 floors up, with the city glittering below them and too much still unresolved between them. Amanda said, I can try not to be awful tomorrow. Sofia lifted a brow. Ambitious. Amanda stepped closer again. Now the air between them carried warmth. Not yet peace. But not war either. I can do better than that. Sofia searched her face. Probably, she said. On a good day. Amanda's mouth moved despite herself. This time it was undeniably a smile. Small. Brief. Dangerous in its own way because it made her look younger and far more open than she preferred. Sofia saw it, of course. Her gaze dropped once to Amanda's mouth and then rose again. Amanda felt the shift instantly. So did Sofia. Neither pretended otherwise. Amanda's voice dropped to something nearly private. You're still furious. Yes. And yet you stayed. Sofia looked at her for one beat too long. Then, yes. The word landed warm. Amanda moved first this time. Not by much. Not enough to reclaim the old pattern. Just a small closing of space, careful and unmistakable, until she stood close enough to feel Sofia's heat in the cool night air. She lifted one hand, hesitated for the smallest fraction of a second, and then touched Sofia's wrist. The same place. Again. Sofia's breath changed. Amanda felt that small victory and nearly ruined it by enjoying it too much. Instead, she said softly, I'm trying. Sofia's eyes held hers. I know. Amanda's thumb moved once over the pulse beneath her skin. Then Sofia kissed her. Not like the balcony. Not like the apartment. Nothing furious in it. Nothing reckless. Just a slow, grounded kiss that let Amanda feel exactly how angry Sofia still was and exactly how unwilling she was to pretend she didn't want her anyway. Amanda kissed her back with equal seriousness. When they broke apart, they stayed close. Forehead nearly touching forehead. City light catching gold in Amanda's hair and silver at Sofia's throat. Amanda let out a breath she had been holding for hours. Sofia's hand came up to rest lightly at her waist. Not taking control. Not asking either. Just there. Amanda's eyes lowered. If we go back upstairs, she said quietly, I'm not promising I'll behave well. Sofia's mouth curved, finally, into something warmer. You say that like it's a warning. Amanda looked at her through her lashes, tired and sharp and unmistakably tempted. It is. Sofia leaned in just enough for her lips to brush the corner of Amanda's mouth. Then I'll take my chances. And for the first time all day, Amanda laughed without bitterness in it. The sound startled them both. It also saved nothing. The real problem was still there. The deeper fault line. The one Amanda had not yet named fully, even to herself. But the night had shifted anyway. They were no longer pretending the damage hadn't happened. Sometimes that was as close to hope as a woman like Amanda Mercer knew how to get. If this episode pulled you in, like the video and subscribe so YouTube keeps pushing stories like this. And in the comments, tell me where you're listening from and whether you think Amanda can really let go of control when it matters most. In the next episode, she finally has to answer the question she's been avoiding. What happens when wanting something isn't the same as knowing how to keep it?